Hello, this is Jake with an update on our World's Best Workforce Report. We believe that through our strategic plan focus areas interwoven with our World's Best Workforce Report, we will improve our educational experience for our students and families. There are many people who make the work together every day to make the items on this document happen, and I want to thank our staff for those who continue to support these efforts for our students and families. I also want to thank our students and families for continuing their work to work with us to create safe conditions for in-person learning. It's great having our students back in person, but know that we're facing many challenges as the pandemic continues. We have 5 focus areas identified in our strategic planning, and we interwove those with the 5 areas of the world's best workforce to drive the direction of the district and the initiatives that move forward. These areas bring focus to our school improvement plans and goals, as well as our professional development areas. In this report, we'll focus on the 5 areas of the World's Best Workforce Report and our improvement efforts district-wide. Last year, as you know, we shifted through many different learning models, including distance learning, blended learning with some students in person, and some in distance learning. And we also had some of our elementary students back in person full-time learning by the end of the year. We know that the shifting learning models were challenging for our students, families, and educators, which is why we were able to start this year with in-person learning. Typically, much of the report relies on the outcomes from our Minnesota Comprehensive Assessments, or MCAs. However, these tests were canceled in the spring of 2020 and were significantly interrupted last year due to the continued pandemic. We still provided our students with opportunities to take the MCAs, but participation was limited, with some grade levels having less than a quarter of our students participate. The first area of our report is on closing achievement gaps. The strategies for 2020-2021 that I would like to highlight are providing equity training for all staff in collaboration with the Minnesota Humanities Center, with a focus around absent narratives inclusive of Indigenous cultures. This was training that we provided for all of our staff in these areas, partnering with the Minnesota Humanities Center. Also, to increase student engagement by providing professional development, focusing on creating positive school climates and using distance learning platforms centered around engagement and social emotional learning. And these were around the circles that we had provided with our partnership with the Minnesota Humanities Center. And continuing this work for this year, we are providing equity training for all staff through our newly created Office of Educational Equity, which is centered around, the professional development is centered around critical self-reflection, culturally responsive content and pedagogy, and inclusive communities. And also refining our Cognitive Abilities Test, or the COGAT test, and our program to not only identify the students in need of advanced academics, but to identify the strengths in all of our students. In the area of kindergarten readiness, what I'd like to highlight is that we last year increased family involvement and engagement with the use of all of our online formats, including Seesaw and Zoom. Teachers met individually with each family before pre-K even started, and they met at area parks, driveways, or even front yard visits. They reached new families with Zoom, especially with families with infants. And they'll continue their partnerships with area early childhood programs and continuing this year to provide training for those other programs, as well as having the toy library available and child care home visits. This year, the second part of their pyramid model project was put on hold, but due to the pandemic, but they will resume the training with the state this year. It's focused on training and coaching to support students in social emotional learning. And they're also supporting families with that transition to kindergarten, with parent education and outreach with multilingual families. For our Reading Well by 3rd grade, we continued our work with our press interventions last year and other research-based interventions. We implemented what I need time or win time at our elementary sites as much as we could. And some sites were able to do this even during distance learning, as well as during the blended and in-person learning parts of the year. In this year, we will continue our English Language Arts program review and our data analysis protocol to pause and look for patterns in the data about who is achieving in which classes, and what instruction was different, and what can we learn from one another as we talk in our professional learning communities. The next area of our report is graduation. Our strategies for last year, we continued to increase alignment of our grades 7-12 alternative programs and credit recovery, and part of this work included aligning our standards for all summer school courses, which had a positive effect on credits earned by both RAS and FAS students. Additionally, we continued to sustain our existing support structures such as College Possible, Avid School-Wide, and our Unity Centers. And I'm pleased to report that once again, we are progressing positively in our overall four-year graduation rate, which went from 85.7% in 2019 to 88.1% in 2020. We'll hear our 2021 graduation data soon, we hope, from the Minnesota Department of Education. And looking forward to our efforts happening this year, I'd like to highlight the implementation of a new bell schedule at RAS, which provides time during the school day for supports for students, and we'll be continuing and sustaining some of our equitable grading practices that we began during the pandemic. For career and college readiness, some areas to highlight include our monthly career and technical education newsletter and our Avid 623 newsletter. Both of them are filled with information on our partnerships, student engagement, and upcoming events. Our Career Navigator provided support for all students, which included our EL Career Seminar class, our Avid electives, and CTE classes. She also met one-to-one with our graduating EL seniors to explore careers and firm up a career plan for post-high school. Continuing with our strategies for last year, obviously we needed to use technology differently to support our students, and staff use Schoology and Zoom platforms to disseminate information about virtual college tours and career fairs. This year we continue to maintain our strong Avid partnerships, which include, but are not limited to, Medtronic, the Society of Women Engineers, and 3M. At the middle level, we continue to provide advanced options, which will prepare students for rigorous courses in grades 9-12. And at FAS, our work-based learning teacher is connecting with our local employers to align the skills we teach to the skills needed in the field. Some more areas for this year include continuing with the efforts underway to support families with the FAFSA, college applications and scholarships. And students with special education services are engaging with exciting opportunities such as the RAS Coffee Shop, the work experience classes, and learning about social skills for work. Our curriculum program and review, as you know, has 3 high phases, which include program evaluation, program design and implementation, planning and purchase. Within the review cycle, we manage 17 subject areas that transition into the high phases to review instruction, delivery, materials, and outcomes. Obviously, you know, this past year, we were able to maintain some work with our groups, but it was difficult to pull teachers with their work as we were in so many different learning models and so short on substitute teachers. We continue to struggle with that this year, but hope that we have some plans coming in the future to think about different ways of doing our curriculum and program. This next section is about staff development goals, and there are 7 areas of focus identified in the district staff development plan. Some of these are the same as in the district's strategic plan, and others are informed by research and the work in schools. We had multiple goals for our staff development program over the last year. However, we had to shift and adapt them due to multiple learning models we were in last year. The first goal is based on our strategic goal plan, area number 1. The second goal is to improve communication and genuine engagement with our families and communities, especially with our underrepresented communities. This area really changed due to the pandemic in some positive ways as we connected with students and families differently in virtual formats, which included some automated calling and text, Dialogue 1 and talking points for translations, Facebook Live groups for specific language groups, and some community town hall forums and conferences that are held via Zoom. And these are some things that we have continued to work on in this current year. Goal Area 3 is to strengthen support for the social and emotional needs and development for students. Some areas to highlight include the hiring of a district-wide and building support team members in the area of social emotional learning. And additionally, we continue to look at an SEL social emotional learning curriculum review for this year. Area 4 and 5 are to expand support for career and college readiness, and many of those were highlighted in our previous slides. And Goal 5 is to use the advancement via individual determination strategies to support student learning, or AVID. We continue to expand our use of AVID in those strategies. Goal Area 6 is to strengthen writing as a means to increase reading achievement. And Goal Area 7 was to improve our professional learning community practices and implementation. The next area is ATPPS. And ATPPS is the Alternative Teacher Professional Pay System, which is also known as Quality Compensation, or QComp. It's a voluntary program that allows districts and teacher unions to work together and agree on a plan that provides career advancement options for teachers, job-embedded professional development, teacher evaluation, and performance pay and alternative salary schedule for teachers. The focus of our ATPPS work continues to be focused on the implementation of our professional learning communities, or PLCs, which are focused teacher conversations on student learning and teacher practices. The two questions we focused on in 2020-2021 was, what do we expect students to learn, and how do we know if they learned it? Looking ahead for this year, we're focused on our work in the third and fourth PLC central questions, which are, how will we respond when students do not learn, and how will we respond if they have already learned it? Looking at our budget, we shared this slide that provides our fund expenditures listed in the pie graph. As you can see, the largest portion of which is 84% is spent on students and includes teaching, transportation, supervising, and counseling for students. So I want to end by thanking our students, families, and staff, and our community for their continued support of our district. These have been some of the most challenging years that we've faced in education, and our focus is to make sure that learning continues no matter what. Thanks again for watching, and we'll see you at our meeting soon.